Okay, and we're here with incumbent school board member candidate this year, Richard Tahvildaran and Jesswein. Richard, thanks so much for joining us. And would you mind just giving us a little background about yourself and why you're running for re-election this year?
Certainly. First and foremost, thank you so much for the time tonight. Is truly appreciated. I think that I would start by saying that I'm a lifelong educator and someone who is deeply, deeply committed to the belief that education is a vehicle for opportunities for persons who might not have them in early life. And that's the life that I have lived, and education has been so key for me, having been born to an immigrant family, partially, but a mom who raised me on her own. And so very much education and the opportunities that came as a public school kid and a public university kid really, really made the difference for me. An interesting side note I always like to tell folks is I ran for school board for the first time when I was 18 years old, just had graduated high school in Castro Valley, California. And I came within 200 votes of beating the dean from the university there at Cal State Hayward. So I have a lifelong commitment demonstrated in craziness and also in work, particularly at the community college, where I think that those are I think that's where we really need we need teachers at all levels. But I was drawn to the community college for the service there. I'm running for re-election because we've started some really great things in our district, and being committed to equity and inclusion, particularly implementing the Dr. Noguera report, or I should say, the Sylvia Russo action report. So Dr. Noguera came in, of course, and did the observations and the identification, and then we were able to work directly with Dr. Rousseau and come up with the plans. And then I think one of the best things I've ever done on that school board as a member is to hire Dr. Girardi, who has been for the last 6 years working to develop processes for us to really start implementing the work that has to be done. And COVID kind of set us aside for a bit, but we have unfinished work to do, and I feel very vested in this work and invested in our school district.
Thanks, Richard. So I wanted to start just asking you if you could describe your vision for the well-being task force that you talked about in your questionnaire. I knew that you would get excited to talk about it. So what would success look like for this task force?
Well, I would attention, right? Setting the agenda, bringing attention, bringing it to the forefront. We all care about well-being. We're in a city, we're in a community that has demonstrated leadership, right? With the Wellbeing Task Force and the work that we have done in the community. But I think all of us know firsthand that the students, I would say children, but children and young adults have weathered differently than we adults have, I would say, the pandemic, the global pandemic. And in my conversations with parents and with kids and students, and particularly knowing, I think some of you know the story of my own child, my son who graduated in 2021, and deep depression and serious issues. It's apparent to all of us. And so we need to do something. So Shuli, who works, I think you know some of the folks who work in the school district and the work that they're doing fabulous work, right? Our staff is, the nurses, our teachers, who of course are practitioners of well-being each and every day in his or her their classrooms. And so we need to be able to, in my conversations with Shuli and with Maria Leon Vasquez, who's the president of our board, and we're having this on the agenda tomorrow night, I said, I really want to bring this forward, get an update as to what we're actually doing, right? So what we have in place, we've gotten those updates often, but we need to now be able to put a task force together with parents, with students, with community members and say, okay, these are all the pieces of what we've got going on. We've got to be able to look and see what other school districts are doing. There's several interesting pieces of work happening in Northern California that I think that we should be paying attention to. And we need to come together to decide a path forward, but particularly we need to shine light on it as we come out of the global pandemic, or let me say, as we emerge into a different component of the pandemic.
Cool. Let's go to Melissa now.
Hi, Richard.
Hey,
I'm going to ask you a question about one of your other priorities, which is implementing the social justice learning standards and the American culture and ethnic studies requirements. I know that's been important to you and is happening, but as you also know, some parents and people in the community view that work as, being slow and somewhat ineffective. Obviously, COVID did, derail a number of things, but there's a lot of energy and hope that that's going to be, a deep priority of the district. So what do you think in that realm is working? And what do you think you'll be able to do to meaningfully move the ball forward on that if you have another term?
Sure, it's a great question. So first, I would absolutely agree that it's been slower than all of us anticipated. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter, and we can point to a lot of kind of challenges that came our way. That doesn't mean that what we've accomplished is ineffective, and I would, toe to toe with anyone who says that it is such. We have been able to do some things that we need to expand and to build out. So, it was myself and Oscar De La Torre on the school board at the time where we came up with this the graduation requirement for ACEs, and it was a position, a compromise position to address both ethnic studies, to include both ethnic studies and American cultures. And what we did is we set out for ourselves that we wanted to be able to allow young people to accomplish this graduation requirement in several different ways. One would be by taking a course specific, right? New courses, curriculum developed to the experiences of persons who have historically been marginalized in the communities and in our country. Another way would be to satisfy it by seeing wholesale, not a reimagining, but let's say a more of a progressive update to curriculum, say like what we've got going on in our history classes. So, we are they still go by history department. They don't like it when I say history, but that story department has gone in and looked at exactly how they are presenting the curriculum and being diverse and sharing the narrative now that course that everybody takes will satisfy that graduation requirement. We need to build it out. We have to move it beyond just 9th through 12th grade. I've been a strong champion for LGBTQIA narratives introduced in kindergarten and pre-K as the law requires, and that was something I was very proud to accomplish in the first term. So my goal is to see the work that Dr. Satendra Hawkins started and the work that she did with the teachers in history, the work that was done in detracking our English classes. I mean, talk about us progressives and blazing a trail here and being able to eliminate tracking in our English courses and the honors courses in the 9th and 10th grade. That's real progress in moving forward. And now we're right on the precipice of seeing that kind of work in this integration in our performing arts and music and in theater arts, which are just natural places, right, for this kind of work to happen. So for those of you who know me, or people who know me in the community, I'm a teacher. This is what I teach at SMC. I teach race and diversity politics there. And it's just been my professional academic work. I don't know, I'm rambling. You can ask me follow-ups.
No, thank you. That's good. Thank you.
Let's go to Reina.
Hi. So first of all, I just want to say that you're a breath of fresh air because you walk the talk. And I didn't even know you taught that at the college here, but it makes sense. And we need more people like you advocating on behalf of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So thank you for all that you've done. You mentioned the value of the politics of recognition when in reference to Black Lives Matter in our community. And you also earlier said how you really, one of your claim to fame sort of is bringing in Dr. Drawdy, hiring him. And I'm wondering, is the school board or do you personally have any plans in place to be able to bring in more African-American teachers? I know that we don't have a lot of African-American people even living in Santa Monica, but is there any sort of path that you are working on or others are working on? Because you're right, politics of recognition matters.
Well, I'm so committed to that. And I learned that from, well, yeah, I learned about politics of recognition a long time ago, but yes, it's absolutely important. And we started some time back, again, just recognizing, right? Just being honest and transparent with our failings and where we are failing in our commitment to diversity and in our hiring. It's not, I shouldn't say failing because someone's going to take that in a particular way. We could do better. We can always do better. So we need to be talking about where the deficiencies are, and then looking in good measure to what other districts are doing. And we've implemented that. So like, for example, our direct recruitment and recruiting from historically Black colleges and Black universities, having conversations about opportunity hires, making sure that when somebody who represents communities and bring narratives that have been excluded can be brought in. Now, the thing is, I'm a very loyal SMER member too, as you know, and I'm very committed to the housing piece. And so it's very hard to live here for teachers. And we're seeing that in our in the challenge to recruit and to retain. So we have certainly the passion to ensure this is happening. We need to be doing greater outreach at the recruitment level. I'm very proud that this board unanimously, 10% increase, a raise on schedule, and that's to try to help and address persons to be able to live here in this community. And we have ideas about workforce housing. And so those things are in the mix. And also, I think that it's important to note that what I have heard from the teachers of color is that sometimes that they feel, this is anecdotal, just in the conversation with the persons I've been in contact with, those who don't stay are like, there's been the sense not of being seen or being a community. Now, we need to address that. And the thing that I liked when we hired when Dr. Drotti says why he chose us, because he chose us just as much as we chose him, he said it was incredible to see a school board that was able to recognize what needed to be done, and a board that would bring in Dr. Noguera and Dr. Rousseau and hiring Dr. Drotti. And Dr. Drotti is incredible, and he is hungry, he is committed, hungry, in the sense of passionate and wanting to get the things done. And when you asked me that earlier question, like, well, why do you want to run again? I want to continue to work with Dr. Drotti. I did make sure with him, I said, you're going to be here, right? We're going to finish this work together. And he said yes. And that in great measure is also why I'm continuing with this effort to try to win re-election.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, John. Hey, Richard.
Hey.
So one of the things I walk past Franklin Elementary almost every day, and one of the things that really stands out to me is how open it is to our streets and the concerns around school shootings and just student safety in general. What actions have you taken? Are you taking? Do you want to pursue in this next term to around the aspect of student safety, maybe outside of bringing cops into the school?
I am opposed to having police officers, police persons inside. I support resource. I think you asked me that in the questionnaire. Resource persons, certainly. Armed guards inside the four walls, I'm opposed to. The Franklin thing is interesting because we just went there, right? So several of us board members just went to look exactly at what you're talking about. And particularly, there's one. I'll be careful not to say these things. We know that there are concerns of family members there, teachers there, staff members. And so I think we need to talk about that. Can't believe that I would say this, but that we have to regularly practice our active shooter drills. It's right. It's just so unfortunate to have to say that. We have to have training to know how to see things. As one of the questions too, also on the thing was about, the relationship with the police department and law enforcement. I think it's really important that we have a good relationship there. I do think, Dan and everyone else, that we can be doing more setting up of cameras on the perimeters. I do support seeing, kind of keeping an eye on who's maybe jumping a fence or who's coming in. I've asked for and articulated that we need these blue lights, particularly at our middle schools and our high schools. These were these panic or emergency buttons that can be hit on campus. I was told it wouldn't be appropriate for elementary because, or maybe even middle, because the kids are, would be pushing those buttons. But we have those at the college. And someone who lived through that shooting at SMC, it's we want to be prepared. We want it never to happen. But we also want to try to, not let that fear grab us. I know that sometimes we talk about how do we harden the perimeters, what do we do to protect it? And when I drive by Franklin, I have to tell you, it's so attractive not to see like gates all around it and feel like there's a prison. And I got in trouble when I was first on the school board because I said something about the high school looking like the perimeters was looked like The Walking Dead with that kind of fence, that chain link fence, and a barrier. So now I am rambling. I think there are things we can do, training, practicing our drills, being age appropriate, real with the students to knowing what's happening, the kinds of things that we've done for the emergency locks on the classroom doors, the business that we've done to try to block out the windows, the clear windows, to tell kids about how it is that we go about fighting, right? And it's age appropriate, right? We have a very good curriculum. I think it's a very good curriculum. It's a national curriculum. It's what everyone else has got in place. And then we have to learn from the places where these things have happened and see, like I'm watching, the unfolding of Texas and thinking about, we have to learn from one another and be open, just like we do with everything else, name how we can do better. I hate that we have to talk about this.
Yeah, it's a unfortunate subject. Patricia.
Yeah, Richard, I'm a strong proponent as GS, as you might imagine. And I'm a little disappointed seeing that you're taking a neutral position on DT. You know that Phil put it on when he put it on, and since then he's also talked about it, that it was designed to sabotage Measure GS and take, I want you to be opposed to it. And I don't know whether you're going to reconsider or whether you're locked in at this point.
I'm certainly not locked in, and so I will say this. I stated clearly I am for Measure GS. I have done public votes in favor of GS. I've signed in support of GS, and I can just tell you that in my heart, when it happened, I said these are my two favoriteest things and policies to deal with: housing and education. And I also know that there are persons in the community that I'm representing that are very concerned about public safety. And so I understand the politic of it, Patricia, I do, and the dynamic of it. I will not do anything to speak for, to support the DT. I don't anticipate in getting in that, other than to say to folks that they should be voting for Measure GS, to be saying that that's where I'm supportive. But I'm trying to strike a balance. I guess I'm being a politician and saying that I'm going to tell everybody what I deeply believe and how I'm going to vote. But I also want to just be respectful and say that I understand that some persons, not Phil Brock, because I understand what that purpose was. I know that, but that there are others in the community who have very deep concerns about public safety. And so I'm trying to strike, and I'm hoping that because you know me longer than anybody else in this room, that you can vouch for me, please.
I can vouch for you, but I did want to get that one in.
Thank you. I understand.
Great. Well, I think that wraps us up. So thanks so much, Richard. I really appreciate you coming by.
I really appreciate it too. Thank you for the good work. And I look forward to more social events. I've had so much fun at the DIM thing, because there was one at the beach, and then all the folks that got together over at the Sammys. That was nice. I look forward to more of those things. So if there's a social committee chairperson, he or she or they should reach out. I'd like to join.
Christmas party.
My granddaughter said they were socializing with you.
Yes. They were.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Richard.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.